Hello, and welcome back to A Quaint Life. Today, I want to share with you some easy zero waste swaps for your kitchen. I have wanted to make a video on this topic for a while now. In the last few years, I have been working towards being just less wasteful in our home, and from that have adopted sort of a waste less mindset. However, I'm not anywhere near zero waste in our home. I'm just a work in progress, but I have found several small things that have been very impactful in our home that anyone can do. And I figure to start by rooms is probably best, and the kitchen seems to be the hub of most of our homes. One of the first and probably easiest things you can do is to stop using and buying paper towels. Instead, invest in a little towel basket like I have here or a drawer and just keep folded towels ready to go and ready to use. I have these blue and white striped towels. I replace these every so often. These look a little bit dingy. They're not as white as when I bought them, but they still work great, and I always have them handy for when I would need a paper towel. Now, on the subject of paper products, we do not use any sort of paper products, and that was the next thing to go, was any paper plates or cutlery or anything like that, and certainly napkins was a big one of them that had to go. And I swapped those out with real napkins that I got from the thrift store. I got extra plates from the thrift store and also silverware, so that way we always have them handy. We always have extra in case we have company, and I keep an extra set of napkins folded and ready to use in the buffet as well. This all just goes in one large load once a week with the towels, and it really is a mindset and a part of the routine now. We tend to think we need all sorts of different cleaning products, and when in fact one good all-purpose spray should do it. And right now I'm making one that I use on my countertop, the stove, the sink, and even the butcher block. And I will leave a link for the recipe for you below if you'd like to check it out. We have an orange tree on our property, and so we get a ton of oranges. I like to make juice, and marmalade is nice, and just eating fresh, of course, but with that comes a ton of orange peels, and I do add them to the compost pile. But another great use of any type of citrus peel, not just orange peels, but is to make an all-purpose spray cleaner. So I'm going to show you how to make this one by just adding the peels, the saved peels. It doesn't matter how many you have. I have like maybe 2 cups here, and I'm going to add that to my container, and I'm going to fill it with white vinegar and allow it to sit for 3 days or so, up to 1 week. You don't want to let it sit too long, but after that I'm going to strain it off and put just the vinegar solution into a spray bottle and use that directly as an all-purpose spray cleaner. So it's a great use of any citrus peels that you have in your kitchen. Now let's talk coffee, because after all, this is the kitchen. I don't use a Keurig in my house because of the plastic waste it creates. If you have one, I totally get it. They look super convenient. But I am guessing that if you're watching this and wanting to create less waste, and small changes like how you brew coffee can impact that. So I just use my standard coffee pot or my French press most days. But the actual coffee brewed itself is a great item in the kitchen that we can actually reuse instead of just tossing it out. The used grounds and even leftover coffee work well to fertilize our plants. So I reuse my grounds by pouring them at the base of my rose bushes, and the leftover coffee a lot of times I will save to pour into my house plants when I water them. You can also toss leftover coffee grounds into your compost if you have one. Now, on the subject of compost, you can use a countertop compost container or just a bowl like we do to save your leftover kitchen scraps. I either use them for composting or to feed our chickens. If you don't have either, that is okay, because you can also save veggie scraps in a freezer bag, which I know is not zero waste, but I unfortunately have not found any good alternative to these. I do wash them and reuse them, which is something, but if you have any better suggestions, please let me know in the comments. When you have enough scraps saved, you can pull the scraps out of the freezer bag and allow them to simmer on the stovetop for a day with some salt and water, and make your own homemade veggie stock. Something that I have tried and now use in place of plastic wrap are these beeswax wraps. To make them, you need grated beeswax and either a 100% cotton fabric or a linen. You cut it into squares and you melt the beeswax over the fabric using an oven. Today, I am repurposing an old t-shirt that is made of 100% cotton to make just a few to show them to you. When I make these, I try to cut them so that they're large enough to fit over bowls, plates, or wrap food with. I find that a 12 by 12 piece of fabric works best. After cutting the fabric, I lay out a piece of parchment paper on a baking sheet, then evenly lay out the fabric, and then I sprinkle the beeswax directly over the fabric, as you can see here, and I just try to make sure I get the whole thing. I pop it into an oven at 170 degrees for about 5 to 10 minutes or until the beeswax totally melts. After it's all melted, I remove the fabric from the oven, allow it to dry, and then trim off any excess pieces that do not have beeswax on them, and then the food wrap is ready to use. To be very honest, they work okay for a few items, but they're not a total solution. So I utilize glass storage containers for leftover food in addition to these beeswax wraps. The wraps last for up to 1 year, and I keep a few in my towel basket to have handy in place of plastic wrap. I try to buy food in bulk when I can and refill these glass food storage containers instead of buying several smaller packages. The bulk bins at some grocery stores are great ways to utilize this as well. I love buying grain sacks full of beans, rice, flour, or oats. It saves money and it also reduces the waste too. Well, that is it for today's zero waste kitchen swaps. I hope you found some of these tips helpful, and as always, thank you so much for joining me today. I will see you on the next video.